Yeah, the problem is that the majority of a super majority of our farmers are distressed and have been distressed. They were distressed before the hemp program, and then they were distressed during the hemp program. We were allowed to grow. We were asked to grow uh, to help supply the legal program. And because of the slow rollout, the farmers became more distressed because they had to leverage their own assets in order to be able to supply legal cannabis flower and biomass to the marketplace. So now on average, they have about $300,000 burn rate, which means that they're all underwater, at least according to a survey of 108 of our farmers. They're underwater for tens of millions of dollars in debt. So they were looking for a relief fund. We were looking for a relief fund, Cannabis Farmers Alliance, for our farmers that would pull them through. Because of course, we're upon planting season again, and many of our farmers are going to have to leverage themselves even more in order to make it through the season through no fault of their own because there are structural issues with the program. And the supply side has been ignored and abandoned by the governor because there's wide consensus that from every stakeholder group, whether it's processors or retailers or the public or the Senate or the Assembly, there's a wide consensus that there are many issues with the supply side, so the farmers and producers.
So who is supplying these stores that exist now?
That's all supplied with current um with current product, but they're based on our numbers, there's going to be a supply shock without without our farmers growing as much as they did because based on our numbers, the farmers have grown either flat, have grown either flat or negative amounts this year based on the failed rollout of the program. Because who's going to put plants on the ground if they're worried that they're going to lose any more money or investment?
Are there already people who are licensed to grow this stuff who have put their hands in their pockets and walked away?
Yes, in fact, some of the new entrants are actually shopping around their licenses. We know of six alone that are brokering their licenses, both micro businesses and cultivators.
The relief fund that you had hoped would exist, would that be an outright grant, or were you merely asking them to float you something that maybe you could pay back from your profits over time?
It was the relief program was initially structured on many different levels, but we were always focused on direct cash relief and getting that to the farmers as quickly as possible. The original numbers that came from the Senate, the original number that came from the Senate was 128 million, and from the Assembly was 50 million. Obviously, we were willing to negotiate that number down. We were hoping that we could get anywhere from $50,000 to $150,000 per farm, which probably would have amounted to around anywhere between 30 and $50 million for the farmers. Something akin to what the dairy farmers got a few years ago when their market collapsed.
And you don't believe that they can fix the program, let's call it the program involving recreational marijuana and the licensing of enough stores to sell the product in time to save you guys without this relief?
The problem is twofold. The problem is a slow rollout of retail outlets, and the problem is a supply issue because there's no demand pull from enough retail shops. The illegal market is $7.4 billion. It's 37 times larger than the current legal market, which is around 200 million. That means 37 times the amount of processing, 37 times the amount of supply cultivators. It means 37 times the amount of retailers. That would put us at about 3,880 stores, We have 105 stores today. The governor celebrated the 105th store opening today when we were supposed to have 200 stores within the first year and many more within the second or third year. So I'm not sure what the governor is celebrating, but she's certainly not prioritizing the supply side. It seems to me she's prioritizing enforcement and and the retail side of things. But even retailers agree that there aren't enough stores opening.
Sounds like she swallowed the spider to catch the fly. I'm not referring to the governor. I'm just
Yes, in
to
general.
explain the program. It just like a house of cards. You pull this one, and the whole thing comes down.
It was never the program was never going to be smooth. It's a brand new office, a brand new program. Um, Even some of the ideas of the program, like micro businesses, have never been done at the scale that we're doing it in New York State.
Okay,
Um,
it was a new program, but are you frustrated as well because New York is not the first state to have done this, and they had years worth of blueprints to look at, correct?
they certainly did. So the rollout of the program, has a lot to be that has is should be under scrutiny, and that's why the Office of General Services is taking a look at it. Jeanette Moy from General Services is auditing the program because of the rollout. There's only 14 reviewers for 7,000 applications. The ratio of external affairs folks to reviewers is 4-1. So you would think that they would concentrate more of their investment, or at least their into training for more application reviewers. They are they are licensing new entrants from the general public quicker than um, condi conditional licensees who are still waiting in the queue to be licensed, many of which are supply side people, so that they don't have any idea. Our first 2 years, we were able to grow 1 acre, and we should be able to grow another acre because we're going to need to supply a market that is going to open more stores, that has been opening more stores.
Point of my question, though, is something that another person I interviewed today raised. New York State was not pioneers in this, that several other states, as long as 10 years ago, had approved recreational marijuana and rolled out plans. In other words, the state had other examples to look toward, and they found that the state's rollout is inexcusable because you had so many other examples to say, okay, this worked here, this did not work here, and yet we still have all these problems.
Yeah, I mean, at every level, anyone who's worked in this business, I've been in this business since 2012. At every turn, this program is a disaster, in my opinion. Whether it's the retail, whether it's the supply side. And again, we can get onto all the reasons why that's the case, whether it's due to the legal issues, the injunctions on the program that slowed it down. Um, but we're past the point now where we should be pointing the blame at other people. The OCM needs to look internally. The governor has to be realistic and listen to all the stakeholders and understand why this program is flailing. It's kind of a laughing stock in other states, you know.
But you guys ain't laughing, you're going broke.
Right. Yep. We're not laughing. We're going broke. Um, if we didn't laugh though, we'd be crying a lot. So, we're trying, ever since last May, we've been trying to work with the governor and with the OCM. We've been trying to alert them of the ongoing problems, and we had a series of meetings with them. We even gave some proposals to them to try and accelerate the legal market. One idea was that we thought that they should fast track all micro businesses so that we could immediately have more retail, because we were not under injunction, whereas the retail area was at one time. So we've constantly been giving the governor's office plenty of suggestions, but it's fallen on deaf ears. They've decided to go with the consultation of other trade organizations who we feel have steered them in the wrong direction.